All right, so once again, welcome everyone. This is a special webinar that we're doing today with London Business School. We're going to learn all about their one-year MBA. This is a new offering. They're actually working to admit the inaugural class as we speak. And I'm joined today by two folks from LBS. This is like the power team to talk about this program because we have the program launch director, Emily Carney, who's joining us, as well as the director of admissions, David Simpson. So this, I can't think of a better team to talk about this, but welcome, Emily. Welcome, David.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
That's going great to be here.
So what I thought we'd start with, just to give the audience a little bit of background, Emily, would you mind just telling us a little bit about kind of your story and what you do at LBS?
Absolutely, yes. Thank you everyone for joining. It's lovely to see where everyone's coming from as well. So I am the one-year MBA Launch Director. I have been at London Business School for around 8 years now in various different positions and programs. I actually started my career at LBS working with the 15 to 21 month MBA program. I then went on to work with the Masters in Financial Analysis program, the Executive MBA program, and now for the last 2 years, I've been with the one-year MBA program and developing that with the different teams within the school, developing the curriculum with the faculty, and of course, working on building our brand new class. So very excited to be here today and to hopefully get to chat a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, you've had exposure to so many different programs at LBS. And also, it sounds like, I mean, for us, we just heard about this program, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago it was announced, or, and this is the first
Yeah.
year that you're accepting applications for, but clearly it's a couple years in the works. So I just want everyone to appreciate what's gone into this. David, would you be willing to say a few words about your background? You've been at LBS for maybe more than 8 years. Is that correct?
One or two more years. Great. Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm David Simpson. I'm Recruitment and Admissions Director for the MBA, the Masters in Finance, and now the new one-year MBA program. Super excited to talk about this program. It's been brilliant working with Emily and other colleagues who've been doing all the hard work building the program. Meanwhile, me and my team are in the background figuring out the best ways to attract people to this very special program. Yeah, I've been with the school over 25 years now, so various different roles, but mainly on the marketing, recruitment, and admissions side. I do all kinds of other things as well as admissions committees, scholarships committees. I've been a governor on the school's governing body, which is was a very interesting couple of years where you get to sit with amazing people from the worlds of business and government who act as our advisory board. So yeah, broad experiences over the years with London Business School. I love this place; it's in my blood. But it's great to get something new to work on, as I have been with the one-year MBA.
Yeah, and so as I was saying, we have this is a perfect duo to talk about this. So Emily, I want to start with you as we get into the questions. And by the way, if you're joining us, we will leave some time for Q&A at the end. So we'll go through some basic questions to give you guys the information that you need about this program, but we'll certainly allow for questions at the end. Emily, can you just take me through like what led to the creation of the one-year MBA at LBS, and how does this new format complement what you guys already have on offer?
Yeah, so like you mentioned before, we only launched last January to the market, but in the background at LBS, I've been working on it for a bit longer than that. And the program itself has actually been in development for quite some time. It started with a thought when we launched our Masters in Management program back in 2009, which David can remember, but it was a bit before my time. It was an idea that we would do something for this MIM alumni group that we would have, this growing alumni group. It coincided as well with the huge number of graduate masters alumni generally in the market who were looking now for that next step in their career. So they wanted to do an MBA, but one that was slightly different and wasn't going to repeat what they had already done in their previous masters. So for us, it was a long time coming. We had this very specific audience in mind, this MIM graduates, as well as other early career professionals who already had that solid academic grounding in business, who wanted an MBA, didn't want to repeat the basics. So we had that group in mind. I think also importantly, it complements rather than competes with our flagship 15 to 21 month MBA. So it's it's a very different program. It's for a different customer. The
Mhm.
one-year MBA, it suits candidates who have a clear career goal in mind, who want to take a short time away from the workplace. They don't want that repetition, but they still want access to LBS's network, career resources, and of course, the academic excellence that comes with the brand of LBS. So, at its core, it's a program about expanding options for our customers, people who turn to LBS to advance their careers, but it also offers a bit more flexibility without
Mhm.
kind of compromising on the quality of an LBS MBA degree.
Yeah, and you make a great point, which is that there are a lot of people out there who've done, a one-year master's in management or, a specialized master's where they've been exposed to what we would typically refer to as the core curriculum of an MBA program, all those classes that you have
Exactly.
to take in a two-year type program. And so I could see why, they might be saying to themselves, why would I go back and do a two-year MBA? It'd be better to have something that's accelerated and where I could focus on, the kind of a deeper dive, kind of elective coursework and things. So, which I'm sure you'll get into for us, but what are some of the goals that you've set for the student experience and learning outcomes in this program? Maybe that's a tee up for this this question, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess the main goal is to help students accelerate their MBA journey, get to their career aspirations, and get that real LBS experience. So to achieve that, obviously, not obviously, sorry, but we have this core curriculum, which is, like you said, it's not repeating. It's not like a traditional MBA where you have that foundational period of courses. We have a shortened core course period where students will still engage in core courses, but the courses themselves are much more applied. They're a little bit more advanced. They are relying on that knowledge that they had from that previous master's. And we're doing that in a quite condensed time period, which leaves the majority of the MBA free for them to still do the things that you associate with an MBA. So that tailored learning experience, that exposure to different kinds of elective courses, to experiential courses. So that's allowed us to keep that really crucial part of an MBA at the end of the program. Um, Obviously, leadership development is also a huge, huge goal of ours. That's why a lot of people come to an MBA at this stage after already having a master's. So we build that through courses like the Science of Leadership and Management and our Career Management course, which is a dedicated career course that is actually accredited part of the curriculum, which is new for the one-year program.
Mm.
They'll have career coaching, they'll do a lot of study group work. Of course, they'll get the classic LBS exposure to diverse international cohort, working with study groups as well, which is going to increase their perspectives and develop
Mhm.
them further as individuals and build that rich LBS network as well. So ultimately, we want students to have not just that strong technical strategic those skills that we associate with an MBA, we also want them to have that greater confidence, clarity of being a leader and how to become a better leader, and that powerful network as well to support their next career move.
What about, I've heard a little bit about there's some innovative kind of features in this program that, kind of particularly relevant for what's happening in today's kind of business landscape. Is there anything you want to
Yeah.
highlight there? Because I've read some things.
Yeah. Yeah, well, our curriculum, so that core curriculum that I mentioned, that's much shorter and it's been developed specially for the MBA. That includes a lot of courses around digital transformation, sustainability, global economics. Um, One of our faculty members, Nico Sava, recently spoke about AI and how we've embedded AI into the program, not only in building dedicated courses, but also in how we have integrated AI into traditional subjects like strategy, marketing, operations, and also how faculty are using AI to improve how they teach as well. So there's a really exciting article from Nikos out there if anyone wants to go and have a look for that
Mhm.
after. But in terms of dedicated courses, we have a pre-program, an online pre-program for this course as well to set students up for the core courses. For the Management Science and Operations department, the pre-course is focused on regenerative AI. So it's looking at how AI is replacing kind of older tools like Excel with platforms like ChatGPT. So
Hmm.
we're going a little bit further than just teaching code. We're trying to teach the students how to think like AI, which is, I think, a really exciting, new, innovative part of our course. We also have things like data science for climate change. So that's our data course, and it's looking at how students can look at how data-driven decision making is being used to develop climate transition strategies and balance key business goals as well. So there's a lot of new content there. Just a couple of the ones that I think are really exciting, and that
Hmm.
is quite new. It's exciting as well because we've been able to build the curriculum from the ground up. So everything that we have developed for the program is embedding these new business practices into the course curriculum. So by design, the courses are quite innovative and quite new and quite relevant.
Okay. So I have a couple more things I wanted to ask Emily, but David, we will get to you because I have a lot of admissions questions too. But Emily, like I always know, in the 2-year MBA at LBS, there are a lot of like experiential or sort of practical elements where students go
Hmm.
off and do stuff. And so what about what sort of stuff that fits that category as part of the 1-year program?
Yes. So we've kept a couple of the courses that are really successful in that area in the MBA program. So like the London CAP project, for example, this is a consulting project. It's one of we've run it for quite a long time at LBS. It's a really successful course. So we're offering this to the 1-year MBA students. They will study this alongside the 15 to 21 month program as well. So it's a nice opportunity for them to work together.
Oh.
Um, the project itself is working with real companies on their real world challenges or projects. So it's giving students the opportunity to put into practice the skills that they've learned in their courses straight away in real world settings, hands-on exposure to problem solving using their leadership skills as well as
Hmm.
consulting practice as well. Um, we also have a course that's a core course that's been developed on complex problem solving itself. This particular course is very practical and experiential. It contains digital cases that go alongside each of the sessions. So for every session, live session, there's a digital online case which informs how they're going to react to certain elements of the live session. So it's a really exciting integrated course there. And of course, we also have global experiences. So global experiences are the 5-day residential trips that London Business School offers for all the programs. Again, different types of global experiences, but they will be working on different projects based on different issues or challenges each of the geographical destinations that they go to are grappling with at that time. So there's still a variety of different practical experiential type courses, some of which are very familiar to London Business School that we've opened up to 1 year, and some of which are new to the 1-year MBA program.
I have to say, I'm impressed that you're getting both the London CAP and the global experiences into the 1 year, because those are, I just know from talking to students who've done the 2 year that those are real highlights of the program. So that's
Real
great that those are
highlights.
still part of it. One last question
Yeah.
for you before we talk a little bit about admissions with David. Um, this is sort of the talk of the town, is like, how are business schools keeping up with everything that's happening in the world, whether that's AI, and you mentioned AI a little bit before, but
Mm-mm.
there are a lot of changes in business and technology and different themes. So how's the curriculum kind of staying responsive?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned earlier, we built our curriculum from the ground up. So by dint of it being a brand new program, the courses are much more relevant to current business challenges. But broadly speaking, we have 3 categories which all of our 10 core courses fall into. And these we feel reflect different aspects of the business world, and we will continue to adapt and renew them each year as well in terms of continuous improvement. But these 3 themes are rethinking corporate purpose. So this theme, the courses within this bucket, for want of a better word, are looking at the role of businesses in society. So, how companies are repositioning themselves to address the needs of people, planet, and profit. The second bucket is navigating new business environments. So, looking at how business is changing, what are the big natural, technological, microeconomic changes, forces that are going on, and what the changes are that businesses are needing to make in response to them. And then the third bucket is individual agency and entrepreneurship. And this underpins all of the above and everything they do at LBS. So it's on the individual leader, what our students need to do to recognize their responsibility as leaders, how to understand themselves, and how to make a difference as leaders. So all of these three buckets will inform the courses that they take, but they'll also, they're as the design, they are looking at how business is changing, and as things continue to change, we'll continue to review the content within these courses to make sure that they remain relevant as well.
So I'm sure it was a lot of work to put all this together, but I also say, I would think that it's probably kind of fun to build a curriculum from the ground up, because many business schools have these sort of legacy structures and things. And so this idea of starting from scratch sounds like fun, although I know it was probably a lot of a lot of work too.
It was nice to have that freedom to just say, we
Yeah.
have a blank piece of paper here. What can we do? Obviously, the
Mhm.
faculty are the ones that have developed the content,
Sure.
so I should give them all the credit there. But being able to, just design it how we wanted it to be, rather than kind of staying within the limits of how things had been, was quite freeing.
Yeah. No, that's great. So I want to turn to David, because I know that a lot of people tuning in are probably thinking, am I eligible? How do I get in? Like, what's the process like? So let's start with a basic question, which is, what kinds of candidates are you hoping to attract for your inaugural class in this program?
So, Graham, what kind of candidates? Well, we have to start off with the sort of headline, which is the prerequisite section. You have to have a master's in management or equivalent. So covering most of the courses we'd expect, so that you can hit the ground running and go for that new core without having to worry about covering old ground, which nobody wants. We're still looking for exactly the same kind of high quality, diverse group that we look for in the MBA, and in fact, any of our programs. So similar in many ways to that traditional MBA. For us, the program is perfect for those who have a clear idea of what they hope to do next. So they develop that vision and not looking necessarily to jump and sort of escape from something or make massive career changes. So unlike the MBA, we won't be having F1 motorsports drivers and submariners and medical surgeons. Will have fantastic people who come from banking, consulting, finance, who are entrepreneurs, who work in the tech world, but have business experience and this business undergrad. So it's still incredibly diverse, and that's absolutely vital for us. I think it's going to be great for candidates who are sponsored by their companies. So whether it's McKinsey, Bain, BCG consultants, or others from all across different sectors, who have lots of the business basics, but need the things that only an MBA program can do. I think it's great for a group of entrepreneurs who really just don't have 2 years, but they know they need something big so they can be successful with either the business they're running or the business that they want to develop in the future. And for those, it's a smaller group, but I think it's a really interesting one for those in family businesses who, again, are
Mm,
perhaps time bound, who are looking for many of the benefits from an MBA program, but want the time and focus to be a bit more intense. So there are people making changes. That's not a 2 year thing, and not to be for those on the 1 year, but they already have relevant experience that is required for the sector they want to change into. So that's
mhm.
one of the things we're checking in the admissions process is, where do you fit? Are you somebody who really fits well on the 1 year program or the 2 year? Or there's a crossover group who could do either, and then it's personal preference, looking
Sure.
at the unique points from both.
Got it. So I guess, I mean, you're kind of making me think now about this, the way that both employers and candidates view management education, and how kind of MBA demand has been evolving. So would you be willing to speak to that? I mean, do you feel that, 1 year MBA it's kind of responding to something that both candidates and employers are looking for?
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's why we built it. That's where the
Mhm.
inspiration came from many years ago, but it's really become much more apparent this is what people are looking for. And as Emily said, I remember when the MIM was launched, I remember we had initial conversations about where this might lead in the future. We weren't ready for it then, and I'm not sure the market was, but it's become very obvious from conversations with Masters in Management students from LBS and all around the world that they want something else a bit later on, and a chance to have worked and reflect and come back out, come back into business school. And for us, with our MBA, that's what people do. They've worked, they've reached a certain level. They have a lot more to refer back to reflect on that experience, to discuss with others. Same with the 1 year MBA program students. That's why they want to come back in for a second bite. It's a different bite, it's a different cake, if you will, than the MIM that gave them the toolkit to launch their careers. Now they're looking for a qualification, for a network that is helping them to jump up next level. So it's whether it's senior management or running your own business or building that business. So it fits quite well for that. I think there's been fairly consistent demand in terms of volume over the years from the top schools like the business school, with a few ebbs and flows. But the expectations of what candidates want for an MBA have changed over time, and there are more distinct groups, I think, and that's where flexibility is key. It's where it's why we created the flexible 15 to 21 months MBA, from our 2 year model. How we progressed
Mhm.
that's proved incredibly popular. This is the next step on from that, creating a program for groups of candidates who want to build on what they have without repeating anything. So yeah, I think employers, mainly candidates themselves, and us as a school community see this as a fantastic opportunity to do something different. You didn't ask me, but I am so excited about the blank canvas approach to building a program. We can perhaps touch on that more later as well. But yeah, we're seeing interest. It's a, a particular group of people who are eligible before then you even
Right.
look at who definitely wants to do this now. But we knew it was out there and we're meeting them. And Emily and I have been interviewing everybody. Normally we rely on alumni. We don't yet have alumni. So we've been doing it because
Okay.
we want to learn a lot more about who are the people who are applying, and what are their motivations. It's been fascinating to watch the
Yeah.
different reasons for doing this. It really helps us to, well, develop how we'll spread the message later, knowing who is interested and where they come from. And I can safely say the caliber of candidates coming into the program is super high, which
Yeah, I
is
would think.
really pleasing. It's
Yeah.
necessary. Everybody's watching
Yeah.
from within the school and outside.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think, wow, so our viewers today are it's sort of a special treat because they're actually hearing from the people who would interview them if they apply. That's good to know. No pressure. So tell me a little bit about how you're building this class, because you talked about how, okay, there may not be the F1 driver because, folks have to have kind of a little bit of a business background and have done a master's in management or equivalent. But how are you going about building a diverse, dynamic, cohort for this inaugural class?
So this is the area we have stacks of experience in, whether it's from the 2 year program or all the existing 1 year programs that we run. And I run one of them with the Masters in Finance. Same thing applies. So it has to be balanced in terms of diversity of nationalities and cultural backgrounds. And by balanced, I mean not too many from one country or region. Um, so it certainly wouldn't be from our home region, but other parts of the world where MBAs are really embedded. We don't use caps, but we are keeping an eye on how the class is forming and crafting it in the same way as we would with a 500-seat MBA for this much smaller program. Um, and then industry sector, same thing applies. Whilst we don't have those non-business quirky backgrounds that we often quote, we still want that diversity. We still have students working together in groups. You still want accountants and consultants and bankers and marketeers and people who've run their own businesses to be together to learn from each other. So again, crafting that class, selecting people from the pool, um, trying to itemize, what each person is going to bring, what bases they cover for both the
Mhm.
study group, the class, the school community, and then the alumni and overall whole sort of ecosystem of LBS more generally. And as I said,
Mm.
all eyes are on us, so it's really important that we get that mix. It's forming, it's come together nicely. We're happy with what we're seeing. Yeah, we just want to get towards that first class and see it in operation and build from there, because it's that time of
Yeah.
year where it's we're rounding off classes and starting to think about, well, we already are looking for next year's class as well. So I love that. I love
Right.
all the juggling.
Yeah. So, any interesting opportunities or challenges in recruiting for a new program? I mean, you've been out there talking to candidates and it's a slightly different group. You knew that they were out there. You talked about meeting them out there, but any kind of interesting things you want to share about that process?
Yeah, I mean, it's challenging in some ways because it's brand new for us and it's a new product. There are not many programs that have a specific prerequisite in this way, and not in this continent. Um, so I guess the main thing we had to do is to make sure people realize the prerequisite is there and why it's there, why it's so important, and why that makes it an even stronger program for those who are eligible. So to make sure there's no market confusion, that we don't just have a 1 year MBA and a 2 year MBA as well. We have a 2 year MBA, 15 to 21 months, and this 1 year program that builds on what you've done. So just putting that basic fact across is in some ways challenging, but it's exciting to have to explain why we've done it as well. It's just meant fishing in different pools as well. I think our aim is to make sure there aren't too many people saying, wow, I didn't know you had that at London Business School. I thought you were this. What we hope for in the next year or two is that people know exactly what the broad offering is. So it's our job to do. I think we've just had a lot of our expectations met in terms of there are people who want to do this thing. And I think Emily and I wouldn't mind saying that when we're interviewing people, we're asking them why they're looking at it. They're repeating the things that we we built this for. The reasons of not repeating and wanting something different, and also getting super excited about the brand new curriculum and the way we've adapted it and modernized it. Well, modernized is the wrong word, but the way that we link it to current themes and how that can be expanded over time. Yeah, it's been fun working with our marketing team to develop the concepts and identify who this will be for. I've really enjoyed that internally. And then talking to alumni as well. We didn't know what to expect from our alumni, what they'd say about this new program. They've been really supportive and helping put forward people. So interviewing candidates who found out about the program from our alumni who were also their employers. A very lovely, typical LBS story.
I mean, I will say I'm drawn to the idea that, your program, your traditional program is 2 years, and many of the best programs in the world are 2 years. You look to North America, et cetera, right? But this idea that you've put some very, I think, strict kind of requirements in place, like you're requiring people to have some background so that they can do this in a truly accelerated way. I think that says a lot about the caliber of program that you're offering. That you've got to come in, ready to hit the ground running, and that you're not just going to offer a shortcut type MBA. This is still going to be at the LBS level of quality, which I think is terrific. I want to go back to Emily. You've been really patient as we dove into all the admissions stuff. What about career and networking support? So I know both of you have commented on the fact that, some of these folks are coming in, maybe they're sponsored or they have a family business, or, they may know what they want to do and they may need less of that kind of career stuff, right? But there will be people who do. So what about career networking support? What do the 1 year students have access to? And yeah, how do you leverage the broader LBS network in this case?
Yeah, I mean, career support is still a pillar of why you come to business school, so it's still central to our program. I think obviously, unlike the 15 to 21 month, there's less drastic pivots, but there's still a huge need for that career support for the potential job after the MBA, but also for the rest of their careers. So, as well as everything a typical MBA student would get from our career center, things like access to job boards, recruitment support, sector events, alumni events, things like that. The 1 year MBA also has this specific career management course, which I mentioned earlier. It's accredited part of the program. It's been developed by our Career Centre and is delivered by our Career Centre, as well as some professionals in the areas that they're going to be teaching. And it's going to complement the curriculum, but it's also going to give them all the tools that they need to effectively navigate and manage their careers through recruitment and beyond. Whilst on a longer 2-year program, you would often get a lot of the content from this course in optional elements that they could dip in and out of. Because it's 11 months, it's quite intense. The curriculum is intense. We wanted to make sure that we were giving them a structured course that would give them the tools at the right times, so that when they go quite quickly from starting the program into recruitment, they already have the foundations of what they need to succeed in recruitment through the career management courses that they'll do before that. So there's all sorts of sessions there set up specifically for that recruitment piece, but also it's working with a career coach. So all the students will be allocated a dedicated career coach. They'll work with them throughout the MBA to make sure that they're hitting the goals that they want to hit in terms of their career and also their professional personal developments. This course also dovetails really nicely into Skills for the Future, which is our professional skills course. It's the same course that runs on the 15 to 21 month MBA. So again, that's another opportunity for them to network and engage with that 2-year program. But the Skills for the Future course is a selection of masterclasses, workshops that students will sign up for, the ones that suit their personal needs, and they're designed to develop critical leadership, interpersonal, digital capabilities that we know employers and businesses more broadly, we know that they're looking for and demanding from LBS students. So that will work really nicely with the career offering. And it's also a really nice opportunity for them to network in a more meaningful way with that 15 to 21 month program.
Yeah, I like the fact that there's some of those interactions. I would have loved a course when I was in business school that was this kind of career course that's required. I mean, gosh, that would have helped me to organize my my life so much better.
Just a
All right,
caveat, it's not to get, you won't be guaranteed a job at the end of it. It's still what you put
no,
in,
but
this is what you get out. But
yeah.
I think having that there at the right time is going to be really
Oh
useful.
yeah.
So they don't have to think about what to do in time. We're kind of taking that element away.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. Tell me, how do you see the program evolving? And I don't know, we haven't talked about this, but do you have a sense of the sort of target size of a class? And I know a first year, you're probably looking for, you want to make sure you have a great group of candidates more so than a certain number. But over time, like, how do you see this growing and evolving?
Yeah, so with the first cohort, we're looking for no more than 30 students. So keeping that class size really small and
Hmm.
focusing, like you said, on the quality. It sits alongside the 15 to 21 month program as well. So I like to say that they have a dual identity. They're going to be 1-year MBA students, but they are part of our portfolio of MBA programs. So they get the benefits of being in a classroom with a small class, but also the network of a larger program as well. In terms of the future, we're going to be looking at making sure the right people know about the program, like David was saying earlier, making sure that we see less and less people that say, oh, I didn't know London
Hmm.
Business School had a 1-year program. So making sure that we're getting the word out there, people know about us, the right people know about us as well. I guess a goal of mine as well would be to look how we can integrate the 1-year MBA even further into our broader LBS ecosystem, so that our students can benefit even more from cross-program collaboration, alumni mentorship, faculty research, all of that. So we already do have a lot of that in the courses, London CAP, Skills for the Future, as well as elective courses which they study cross-program. But I'll be looking to see how well that first cohort integrates with the school and what more we could do to integrate them as well. So I'll be looking for some evolution there. And it's a new program. So we'll also be looking at the parts of the program that worked and when we may tweak to make it a little bit more impactful for the future.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of evolution, the scope for evolution.
So just to underline one point, it sounds like some of the elective coursework that one would pursue after the core in this 1 year program would be electives that they might end up being in class with the 15 or 21-month students as well, right?
Yeah,
So there would be
yeah, exactly
opportunity
that.
for networking and connection to those individuals too.
Definitely, actually, the elective portfolio is for all of the students across the suite of different programs at London Business School. So not just MBA, but also our graduate master's programs, our leadership programs, executive MBA programs
Mhm.
as well. So they'll have a broad range of networking that they can get
Oh,
involved in
that's great.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, terrific. Yeah. So, and I like the idea of they're in this small group of 30 that will travel through together, but they also get to dip in to the broader pool. That's fantastic. I guess I know we have some questions that people wanted to ask, so we'll get to that in one second. I just want to kind of wrap up the general part of this discussion by asking. We'll start with you, David. What excites you most about this new 1 year MBA program?
I guess for me, selfishly, one of the things I'm really interested in is attracting new groups of students who perhaps we hadn't been as interested before because they automatically switched to 1 year program, whatever job or whatever choices. So I think for a group within that group who have the prerequisite, it's like, oh, I can do that, and in London at LBS because they love the London Business School bit, but perhaps they aren't looking for a significant change or don't feel like they want the 2 years. Um, as I say, I've loved working with everybody around the school. Not in terms of content, I'm jealous of Emily's role in that area, but in terms of putting together the packaging to sort of sell what this is, and just a conversation. So it's super exciting around. It's a real boost. It's more work, and it's kind of like just make this happen in a very obvious way because that's the way
Mhm.
we roll at London Business School. Everybody gets involved and you build on what you've got. And
Yeah.
we are pretty nimble and agile in many ways because of, the that we're not attached to a larger university slowing things down. We want to do something. It's a great idea and there's evidence that it's going to serve customers and we've got brilliant people to run it. We'll go for it. It's why executive education thrives so much at London Business School and why our elective portfolio changes over the years as well. So yeah, just a few
Mhm.
reasons. It's really rejuvenating and just excited to see the first class come in now.
Yeah, and I would think that employers are going to very quickly suss out that this is a 1 year MBA that is maybe not like the others because the students coming out of it are probably a little bit ahead of everyone else because they've come in with a background that is not required at a lot of other 1 year MBA programs. So I would imagine that as if we talk 5 years from now and you've got a bunch of alumni out there really wowing the employers that they've been hired to work for, word will get round quick that this is a really special 1 year. Emily, what about you? Anything that you're particularly excited about you with the launch? Maybe that you're done with the work of building it?
Yeah, I was going to say I'm excited to launch it, to actually have it out there and students studying the courses we've been talking about for the last couple of years.
Right.
Yeah, I'm just really excited to see them. The David mentioned earlier, the caliber's great. I am really looking forward to see how they integrate with the other programs, the identity that they'll craft for themselves within LBS as well. I'm excited to see what that's like because they are MBA students, but they have a little bit more work experience. So they're almost in between the first and the second year of an MBA. So I think they'll craft a nice little niche within the LBS network of who they are. So I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
seeing that.
All right, excellent. So what I want to do now is, so we have a combination of some questions that were, I guess, pre-submitted, and then we also have some questions that people have been posting here in the Q&A as we've gone. I'll just kind of order them so that we stay, maybe I'll try to keep these things kind of grouped in terms of topic and such, but I wondered if we could just start with, a question about that came in about, how do people fund this program? Are there any patterns that you see there? I mean, I know they haven't started it yet, but you must know this from just folks coming in for your other programs. So, what is the sort of mix of funding? I presume maybe some scholarships, some borrowing, et cetera. But how do you all? Do you want to take
Yeah,
that one, David?
I can certainly start with it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, funding's obviously crucial to everybody looking at business school. I love this. Now, how do I do it? The distinct advantages of a shorter program means that the fees aren't quite as high. and of course living expenses for a shorter period of time out of the market. So that helps to some extent. There'll be quite a few students who are sponsored by their companies. They're fortunate because the companies see the value in this program and obviously LBS. So if you're fortunate enough to be one of those people, fantastic. Most people I expect will be using a combination of savings, loans, external scholarships, and some LBS scholarships. We made sure that we built a scholarship portfolio specifically for this program in this launch year, so that some of the students, not all of them, but it's a modest portfolio, but we'll be helping a good bunch of the students can access it. And also we can reward for merit as well. We for our own alumni, because there are plenty of LBSs. Remember how we said we started this thing? There'll be our own alumni who are looking at the program. We have a limited time period launch scholarship as well, so that we can help bring our own back in, which I think is really nice. But yeah, it's just the usual thing of get the money from wherever you can. This investment is about the next job, but it's mainly about you and the rest of your life. And so it keeps paying back and paying back. But the usual loans and many of our other traditional scholarships that were for the MBA are going to rolling out to be for this program as well, because it's the same great caliber of
Right.
students, same qualification. Employers are going to see that as well. So a bunch of different ways to fund it. We can talk to you about that if you have questions.
Okay, terrific. One for you, Emily. Will students in the program have access to any kind of internship or career tracks? I mean, I know this is a 1 year, so there's not a summer to go off and take an internship, but what kind of access to those types of things, career tracks, or any maybe in semester internships or things like that?
Yeah, so what I would say is semester one, term one, which is the autumn term from start August to December, that's when you're going to be focusing a lot on core studies. You're going to be going through that curriculum at quite a rapid pace. So I would not be recommending to any students to be engaging in anything other than their studies during that time. Now, terms 2 and 3, spring and summer term, that's when you're just doing your electives. So you have that flexibility to move things to when you want them around your schedule. So there is the opportunity, of course, to do term time schedules and term time work, depending on visas. Um, and that's when you could take it by balancing your elective studies to another term and moving things around a bit there. So there's that
Hmm.
opportunity. Same with career tracks, depending on when in the year they take place. Unfortunately, there's no summer internship for this program. It's an 11-month program. You're going to go
Right.
through that quite quickly, so there's no summer break. But there's the opportunity, of course, to do internships afterwards that aren't those structured summer internships.
Okay. Let me take one of the ones that have come in as we've been going here. So it's interesting. Someone's asking, if I have like 10 or 12 years of experience and I want a full-time MBA as opposed to some sort of part-time executive, could I be eligible, or does that really depend on, what sort of background they have in terms of academics? Because you talked about having to have a MIM or equivalent, right? David, do you want
Yeah,
to answer this one? Oh,
Uh,
sorry.
yeah,
I was
Emily,
going to
you
say,
kick off.
David can pick up the
Oh,
recruitment
okay.
side, and I maybe will pick up the curriculum pieces, which are worth flagging. So if
Okay.
you are at 10 to 12 years experience, what you're going to be looking for is going to be different from an
Mm,
MBA that we're offering, which is mid-career. So the kind of courses that we're offering in terms of leadership development, they're very much pitched at mid-career. So what I would flag there is that really what you want to get out of the course? And it probably isn't. So I would be cautious around their
mhm.
joining because of that curriculum piece. But I'll let
Okay.
David talk about it from the RNA perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I won't take away from that because it's, we build our program for a certain sort of spot in people's careers. But saying that, the range is broad. It's broad on the MBA, actually. On the 2-year MBA, we have people with 3 years. Most often, they're the sort of sponsored consultant types, all the way up to 10, 15 years. And a typical example group of those with more experience are sponsored by corporate companies who are looking to sort of do leadership development at a certain point is their choice. So we see sponsored candidates from, say, Japan and South Korea who typically have a bit more work experience. So I think you have to look and think, do I fit? Is this the right kind of education?
Hmm.
But mainly for us, it's about career outputs and where you're going to go next. On the 2-year program, if somebody has a bit more, we will always ask, what do you hope to do? Because if you're hoping to get on the sort of conveyor belt of certain organizations looking for people at that very specific point in their career to hire as associates, it's going to be tougher. I think on this
Yeah.
program, to some extent, it's a little bit more flexible because most people are sort of going off in different directions rather than joining formal structured groups. So there's
Hmm.
space, but you need to do the reflection of whether it fits.
Okay. Well said. I guess this next one I'm curious about, and I want to broaden it actually. So this person, they've asked, where is it? Here we go. They've asked if a GMAT score of 635 is too low. They say they're a trader. They have a 635 on the GMAT. They're wondering, is that like too low for admission? And I would broaden that to just ask you, like, is there some sort of a range that you're looking for, or what's the deal with testing and this program?
Yeah, I've thought a lot about testing actually. I'm a sad business school person. These are the things that I wake up thinking about. And if you think of admissions for this program, we have a lot more academic evidence than we would do for some of the other programs because you've been through a top class Masters in Management, not just at Masters in Management, but one that's accredited. Um, so we know what you've been doing. You have to be successful in that. So that's more than, say, the typical MBA who perhaps just has an undergraduate. So test scores are still important. They're still compulsory. But just like all of our programs at school, we have quite a lot of flexibility
Mhm.
because we're taking people from all around the world, some native speakers, English speakers, some non-native English speakers. We look and every sort of space that you'll be okay, especially this 1 year where you go straight into the the core that we built that presumes you've studied certain areas. So we will look at have they, if people got the requisite finance or accounting, academics in their story already. So that tells us quite a lot more. Test wise, it varies. 635, I think you said, should be fine. That falls well within the range. The range is pretty broad as long as there's plenty of evidence of potential for
Right.
academic success. You're still doing what you do in the MBA. You're doing some core and then you're picking and choosing. So you're picking and choosing courses that you want to do, and also ones that you think are well within your academic reach or areas of strength and expertise. You're a quant person, or you were less of a quant person.
Mhm. Okay. I wanted to ask Emily a question, and this is about sort of career prospects. And someone wondered, is this 1 year program is it going to be regarded as kind of an equal of LBS's flagship MBA program, or the traditional kind of 2 year program? And specifically, they're wondering, would a 1 year MBA grad be accepted as a would LBS's 1 year program be a target program that like the banks come to recruit from, et cetera?
Yeah. Similar to David's answer of boring business school people, a question that has kept me up at night. But the short answer is they would be considered the same. So you're coming out the program with the same qualification as a 15 to 21-month MBA student. So when you're going for jobs, you're going as an MBA candidate. You're not a 1 year candidate, a 2 year candidate, you're an MBA candidate. So
Mhm.
there's no differentiation there. The jobs as well, they're not ring fenced, anyone can apply for them. So it's a case of, um, and I think the person kind of answered their own question in their question where they wrote, "Is this MBA still a target school?" You said it yourself. LBS is the target school, not necessarily the program. So we are still a target school. You're going to be presented as an MBA candidate. So we don't see there being any changes there. We've also, of course, been speaking and connecting with our recruiters, and they say the same things.
Right. And I
I'll,
would think
I'll add a
that.
line
Oh,
as
go
well,
ahead.
if
Sorry.
that's all right, Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
Go ahead.
just to say that we provide network opportunities, introductions, as well as skills and knowledge. But at the end of the day, especially in today's MBA hiring market, you're the ones getting the job. So it depends on what you've done, what your potential
Mm,
is, your whether you have the right amount of sort of agility, drive, ambition, and those solid experiences. That's what people are hiring for. They don't go just, oh, you went to this school or you did this program. So that's why our job in helping select people is essential, because we're working with you about your expectations, and the careers
Mhm.
team will be as well. but making you realize it's on you. We support you. We'll make you the best you can be, but you're the one getting a job from your experience, because that's what recruiters have. They have, they can pick and choose these days. So an even better reason to do a program at a top school is to take
Yeah.
you above the masses that could do these jobs that are open at the moment.
Yeah, and I think Emily mentioned earlier that, when you're in the program, you have access to all the, career services and things. And so that point you made earlier just about how this is an LBS MBA and it doesn't say at the top of your resume, I did it in, 11 months as opposed to 15 or 21. That's not really relevant to the recruiter. Obviously, I think the recruiter will be interested to hear about all the amazing background that you would have to just get in to the 1 year program. But
I
yeah,
think so,
so
yeah.
yeah, so I want to ask. There's a good question that came in as well, and I'll start with you, David, on this one because I think it's in your wheelhouse. So this is someone who did a PGDM degree, which, as you know, is kind of, I always think of it as almost like an MBA or a MIM in India, and they're wondering, does that count, or does it have to be called a MIM? And I know you've been saying equivalent is okay, but what's your take on this? Is that going to make them eligible for this program?
So it all depends on where you did that qualification, because as I said, we have a set list of schools
Hmm.
that we've decided to tie it to accreditation bodies,
Okay.
accreditation AACSB. So it depends where. Yeah, we that equivalent word is really important, because there are so many qualifications that are the same or similar but have different names.
Hmm.
We've thought specifically about this. If you have that qualification, most times you'll be eligible. So my answer is yes. It depends where you went. We like to look at when you did it as well.
Hmm.
Traditionally, the MIMS or equivalents are taken early in your career, so straight after your undergraduate or fairly early on. If it's that's when you did it, and I think that's the case for PGDMs in India.
Hmm.
Usually, as you're taking it after your undergraduate early on, then yeah, it's doing the same things. We'll have slightly different questions for people who have effectively have MBAs, but if you answer them well, then you fit right in the pool.
Okay. And I guess while we're on this topic, I wanted to answer a similar one. This person has a PhD in economics. Does that count, or that's sort of more of a gray area that would be a case by case kind of thing? Or how would you look at someone with a PhD in econ?
We're taking That's very much a case by case. I mean, typically when we look at people with PhDs, they'll be perhaps more in the sort of science research areas,
Hmm.
with some corporate experience and building on it. That's for the 2 year program. Um, Depends what you've done around it, the employment you've had. Fantastic level of expertise, but is it all in one area? That the equivalent bit, the MIM or equivalent bit, is about the diversity within your masters. So it's, have you
Hmm.
done finance, accounting, data analytics, and some OB, some strategy, or combination that make up a general master's in management. If you just focus in one core subject area, might not be right.
Okay. Good to know. I want to turn to Emily. There's a question about whether or not this program would be good for pivots into a new field. So, um, if someone's trying to, yeah, make that kind of a switch, like maybe they're working in fintech and they want to go and work as a consultant. Is this a possibility? Assuming they have the right prerequisites in terms of a master's in management or equivalent.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's still scope for people who want to make those career pivots. What we would be looking at is, do they have a clear idea of what they want? So they know that that's the job they want. They have quite an understanding of how they need to get there, what they need to develop to get there. I think that's important because in 11 months, you don't have the luxury of time that you would on a 15 to 21 month program. So being able to have that clarity of thought, that quite focused, dedicated idea of where they want to get to is really important. So it's not impossible. I'm not saying it'll be easy. It's definitely, there'll be a lot of work to do when you're on the program, but yeah, we would be looking to support those kind of students. I think where we would say the 15 to 21 month is the better program is where they just want to explore different opportunities. So they don't really have a clear picture of where they want to go next, but they know they want to change. There we would be saying, okay, 15 to 21 month is still the right option for you because you have time, you have the summer internship, you can try something, don't like it, try something else. So that is still the right option there. But if you want to change industries, you know what you want to do to get there, then I'd say we can still do it on the 11-month program.
Yeah, and I would think, imagine, again, assuming they have the qualifications and imagining that they're working in fintech and that they want to go to a consulting firm that specializes in counseling financial services companies. Like you could see how that's an easy pivot to explain and would be, very straightforward. I do want to ask you, while we're talking about this, I'm kind of curious, how do you position this program vis-a-vis your master's in finance? Because, we're just talking about someone with a finance background. What's the difference in terms of fit and outcomes?
So David might be best placed for this one.
All
Okay,
right,
yeah, sure.
David.
I think that's fine. This is an everyday question in many ways. I think the answer to this is the same as it would be for the what's the difference between MIF and the MBA, the 2-year MBA, the 15 to 21 month, which is it depends what your experience is and what your aspirations are. If you have some significant work experience in finance or a finance adjacent sort of area, so in the sector, and you wish to continue, the MIF is the Masters in Finance is for you. London Business School, our Masters in Finance is a post experience. So it's the same kind of space as our MBAs. It's not a pre-experience. We have another one of those called the MFA. For those wishing to perhaps switch into finance or make a significant shift who don't have finance experience, it's MBA all the way. So that's the big difference. And I've talked to candidates as recently as yesterday about this. So the clear identity of the Master in Finance answers the question more than the introduction of the 1-year MBA.
Mhm.
The
Right.
similarities are that you need to know what you're doing and it needs to be reasonably realistic, I think,
Sure.
rather than, wow, you've got a big change to make, which is sometimes the way we view the 2-year MBAs, space to do
Right.
it. On this one, I see much focus.
Okay. And there was just one other question. I think this kind of relates to one of the earlier questions we had, but this person was just saying, that they have, 13 years of experience and they're just wondering, are they eligible? And what they did in terms of their master's is they have a master's, but it's in operations management. So again, not a MIM, but and I know you spoke earlier to what does it mean if you have a lot of experience, but let's imagine for a moment that they are a fit in terms of what they're trying to accomplish and that, despite all that work experience, they might be a fit. Is the diploma in operations management likely to have covered some of the stuff they would need as the prereq or would depend, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump in if that's all right, Emily.
Mhm.
It really depends. What we do is we look at your master's transcript if you ask us. I mean, you should do
Hmm.
the self-evaluation, look at the website. It will talk about the areas you need to have covered, and
Hmm.
how many of the core subject areas, and it's pretty strict. So it would need to be an operations management qualification where you either through electives and options you covered I'm not even going to say basics, but the significant core that we're looking for. Or if it was
Hmm.
all very specifically in one area, it's not going to be right. And that's because of this prerequisite bouncing you so far ahead and allowing us to hit the ground running at a space that's normally halfway through the MBA. So it
Right. Okay.
depends. It's not a typical answer, isn't it? It depends. But we'd be happy to have a look through the detail, and that's really interesting to do. And we do that, from our admissions expertise, program knowledge, and sometimes we're consulting faculty as well in terms of content. So that's what's making one of the reasons why this has been a really interesting year is looking at who might fit and who probably
Yeah.
won't.
Yeah. That
Yeah, I
makes
was gonna
sense.
say. Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
I was
go
just
ahead,
gonna
Emily.
add that it's certainly one I would be interested in looking at, and the reason as well that we asked to see CVs is we've been learning a lot about who we could have on the program by looking at those CVs and
Yeah.
transcripts, because like David said earlier, there's a large number of programs out there that don't have that Masters in Management exact title, so we want to know what they are so that we can make sure going forward our comms are a little bit tighter, our messaging is really tight about who we would want on this program.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, we've seen a lot of questions like this, like someone has a master's in international business, they're wondering, is that okay? And I think again, it sounds like there's a tool they can go onto your website and already look at some of the requirements, and look at their transcript and see, oh, did I take these classes that LBS is sort of recommending I have exposure to? But it also sounds like better that they check in with you than not because you're looking at it all. So I
Absolutely.
would say get in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. If in doubt, get
Yeah.
in touch.
Yeah. So I know we're at the top of the hour. I did want to tell our attendees that this program is, the first class is starting in August and you're still taking applications, right? People can still apply for a bit longer. So, I mean, to me, it sounds like a really great opportunity to get in on the ground floor with this kind of inaugural class, and get the royal treatment. What's the deadline? Like, how late can they apply?
Yeah, on this one, whilst we've had fixed stage dates to help, that's really been to help manage expectations from candidates of when they'll hear back from us. But we're doing it on
Hmm.
a rolling basis.
Oh,
And
okay.
we went from a zero knowledge in the market through till we're starting to get people aware of it.
Yeah.
Really, the biggest critical thing will be about being in time for a student visa if you need one, because that's not a
Hmm.
simple process. And then the idea of leaving your job and having your finances in place, and also the pre-program courses. They run a little bit earlier. They run a bit deeper because of what we're
Hmm.
looking for. So there's time, but not a huge amount of time. Again, get in touch, and we'll look in your particular case of how
Sure.
ready you can be.
But it sounds like, I mean, so it sounds like they should, if they're interested, they should apply as soon as they can, because it's, we're in May, and if the course is starting at some point in August, so get to it. There's a easy way to go and apply on the website. I really appreciate, both of you making time to talk through this. It's been super educational for me, and I even saw one of our attendees said that they have a much better understanding now of how the 1 year MBA program works at LBS. So it sounds like we did our job. I know I've just learned a ton, but really appreciate you both making time to talk through this. Emily and David, thank you so much.
Thanks for
Thank
hosting us, Graham.
you.
Always great to work with Clear Admit.
All right. Well,
Thank you
everyone
so
stay.
much.
Yeah, no, thanks. We're welcome. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, everyone stay tuned. We'll make this available up on YouTube, but also head over to LBS's website and learn more about this program and get in touch with David and Emily while you can, because it sounds like there's still an opportunity to be a part of this first class, which would be terrific. All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.